Hello, this is part 3 of a 3-part series on your legal status, maintaining your status as an F1 or J1 student in the United States. There are 3 rules to staying legal as an F or J student. 1. Maintain an active and accurate SEVIS record. So keeping an active record requires you to change your major and minor information in SEVIS. We change it in SEVIS based on the information in the university system. So you don't have to do anything. We get notified when you change your major or minor, and it comes into our system from the university system, and then we push it through to the SEVIS system. If the major changes, you will get a new I-20 with your major listed. Minors don't appear on the I-20. They do appear in SEVIS. The information is updated in SEVIS, but it does not print on the I-20, so we won't have to print a new I-20 if you change your minor information. We will print you a new I-20 if your major information changes. When that happens, we email you when it's ready. It may take a couple of days from the time that you change your major, so just wait a few days, and when you get the email from international@cmo.edu saying you have a new I-20 to pick up, come to the front desk of the International Center and pick that up. If needed, you have to request an extension prior to the end date on your I-20 or DS 2019. So if your end date is coming up and you know you need another semester, follow the instructions on our website to get what you need to get your I-20 or DS 2019 extended. It's very simple to do so. All you have to do is have your academic advisor email us and tell us when you will be finished and why you need the additional time. Your I-20 end date will be processed for the end of your required face-to-face coursework of your program. If you only have online classes, if you only have research classes that can be done from anywhere, we will not be able to extend your I-20 for that reason. Your I-20 will end at the end of your required face-to-face coursework. Another part of maintaining your active record is reporting your current information. This means that we need to have your address and home in your country, your address and phone number if you have one in the United States, and you must update this information within 10 days of any change. If you live on campus and you move to a different room, that information is in the university system automatically because you live on campus. That information will come into our system automatically, and we will update SEVIS. If you live off campus, you must update this information in your student portal, your Southeast student portal, by going to the Student SS tab, clicking Update Address Information. Make sure you choose Local Address Off Campus and update that address. You must do this within 10 days of any change. This means that even if you just moved to a different apartment across the hall, that is a different address, and you will have to update that in the student portal. That information then comes into our system overnight, and then we can push it through to SEVIS. Rule number 2, registration in SEVIS each semester. In order for us to register that you are here and maintaining your rules, you have to be maintaining your rules. That means you have to be enrolled full-time. In the fall and spring semester, any undergraduate student, including intensive English programs, must be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours, with at least 9 credit hours of face-to-face coursework. Intensive English programs, or IEP, students are enrolled full-time by the program. Typically, full-time enrollment for an IEP student is 15 hours, so then it's all face-to-face, so that maintains the rules of 12 hours with 9 face-to-face. If you are an undergraduate student, you are responsible for enrolling in full-time coursework every fall and every spring semester. You must maintain that enrollment throughout the semester. Graduate students must be enrolled in at least 9 credit hours with at least 6 credit hours face-to-face. If you're a graduate assistant or teaching assistant, those requirements are a little bit different, and it's 6 hours with 3 face-to-face. But for all other graduate students, 9 credit hours is the minimum with at least 6 credits of face-to-face coursework. Summer has no enrollment requirements except if summer is your first or last term, or if you're in the intensive English programs and have begun within the last year. So if you have started in the intensive English programs in October, January, or March, you must take the summer term. If not, or after that first summer, there is no enrollment requirement. So students can stay in the US and not be enrolled in any classes. They can go home and not be enrolled. They can go home and take all online classes. They can stay in the US and take all online classes in the summer. It's completely up to you, unless it's your last term. In your final semester, if summer is your final semester, you must be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours, and at least 3 of those have to be face-to-face. If you have any questions about this, please contact the Office of International Education and Services. Email dso@cmo.edu and ask, and we can explain. You can also stop by the office and talk to a designated school official. Please don't assume that you can or cannot do something if you're not sure, because your status could be at risk. We want you to maintain an active status. You need to follow these rules to do so. These are government rules. Part of this is also completing full-time coursework. This means that you have to be enrolled full-time all the way through, from the first day up to the last day of each semester. You cannot drop your classes. If you get an email or your teacher talks to you about dropping a class because you may not be passing, you may not be able to do this. Sometimes you have to follow multiple sets of rules, and you have to follow whichever is the most strict of every single rule. So if the university says the last day to drop a class is coming up, and your teacher says you are not doing well in this class, you may want to drop this class, make sure you will still be meeting your full-time coursework if you drop that class. If an undergraduate student is only enrolled in 12 credit hours and 9 face-to-face, you will not be able to drop any classes. If you have 15 credit hours and 12 are face-to-face, then maybe you can drop 1 face-to-face class. But make sure you will meet the full-time requirement after you drop that class, all the way until the very, very last day of the semester. We are required by law to terminate your status if you drop below full-time. So it's very, very important that you maintain your full-time coursework throughout the entire semester. Some people ask, what if I can't maintain full-time enrollment? If you're not able to maintain full-time enrollment, you must come see us immediately. Do not drop below full-time unless we have talked to you and authorized it in SEVIS. There are very, very limited reasons that we can approve a reduced course load, or RCL, for under-enrollment. Basically, there are 3 categories: academic difficulty in the first semester, completing your course of study in the current term, or an illness or medical condition. Academic difficulty in the first semester is extremely difficult to get approval for. This requires significant documentation from your professors, your academic advisors, and so on. And those who have this initial difficulty, there are limited reasons. The main one is English language difficulty. And we are required to enroll you in intensive English programs, or in ESL, English as a Second Language classes, if you have that difficulty. So it's not as easy as, this is hard my first semester, so I want to drop a class. It is extremely difficult to be approved for this type of RCL. and it's extremely unlikely that you will ever need it because you showed proof of English proficiency when you applied, and that shows that you should be able to complete this coursework. Most people don't have any problems, but those that do can come talk to us. But please know that it is not easy to get this type of RCL. The one RCL that is very easy to get is in your final semester. So in your final term, in order to complete your course of study, if you only need 1 or 2 or 3 classes and those do not make full-time enrollment, you can easily get approved to be under-enrolled for a final semester RCL. This requires graduation approval, so please plan ahead. In your last semester, right after you enroll in your final classes, you should apply for graduation with the Office of the Registrar. You will get information about this when it gets closer. After you apply for graduation, you then go to our website, cmo.edu/international, go to the forms page, and find the form for request approval for a reduced course load. You'll choose the reason of final semester or to complete course of study in the current term and submit the information. We will email you when it is approved, and you will get an I-20 that has that reduced course load approval listed on page 2. You can only do this one time in your very, very last semester. Please do not try to get an RCL the semester before you will be finished. We cannot approve it. Work with your academic advisor throughout your entire program to make sure you are taking the right classes in the right order, because we cannot approve multiple reduced course loads for this reason. The last one is for illness or medical condition. This requires documentation as well. It has to be from a medical doctor. So if you have some medical issue that comes up and you cannot be enrolled full-time, or maybe can't be enrolled at all for a semester, please contact us or fill out that reduced course load form. You will be required to upload documentation from your medical doctor that says that you can either not be enrolled at all or that you can only be enrolled on a less than full-time basis. We must authorize these each semester. So if you have this medical condition that keeps you from enrolling full-time for longer than one semester, we will have to do multiple authorizations, and there are limits. So contact us if this is an issue for you. Unacceptable reasons for an RCL include many things, such as poor grades in a prior semester. So if you did poorly, and so you want to be enrolled less than full-time so you can really focus on less classes, this is not a reason that the government allows us to approve an RCL. Fear of failing your class. If you think you're going to fail and you want to drop the class, we cannot approve an RCL for that. You must plan ahead and make sure you have full-time classes throughout your entire semester. Lack of money to pay tuition. Because you showed proof of funds all the way back when you applied, the government will require you to be enrolled full-time. Lack of money to pay tuition is not a reason they allow us to approve an RCL. Not getting a graduate assistantship. Maybe you thought you were going to get one and you didn't, and now you don't know how you're going to pay for your schooling. This is a big problem for you, but unfortunately it is not a reason the government allows us to approve a reduced course load. Completing an incomplete class. So if you got an incomplete in a class and the next semester you have to finish the work, we cannot let you be enrolled less than full-time, even though you are also completing that class. That class does not count toward your current enrollment in the following semester. It counts toward your enrollment in that semester that you took the class. No classes available that you want to take. Maybe you didn't enroll until late and many of the classes are full. This is also not a reason that the government allows us to approve an RCL. So please plan ahead and enroll as soon as possible so that you can get the best schedule for you. All right. Rule number 2, maintain satisfactory academic progress. That means that if you are suspended and you can no longer study in the U.S. or study at Southeast Missouri State University, we will have to terminate your status and you will have to depart the country. So please make sure you maintain satisfactory academic progress. This is handled through the registrar's office. If you have academic issues, you will not be immediately suspended. They will give you probation, which is like a warning, and it has specific rules to help you improve the next semester. But if you continue to not meet the academic requirements, you could be suspended. If you are suspended from the university, we will have to terminate your status. So please pay attention to the warnings that are sent by any department on campus and follow the rules and the recommendations to improve your academic progress if that becomes an issue. Rule number 3, work only in approved employment. This means on-campus jobs only. Intensive English program students cannot work until you are finished with intensive English programs classes. After you finish those classes and you start in your undergraduate or graduate program, then you can work, but only on campus. There is a limit of 20 hours per week. If you are on a J1 visa, you must come talk to us first. We need to put special permissions into SEVIS authorizing that employment. For F1 students, you can work without coming to see us first, but you can only work in an on-campus job, not off-campus. If we see you working off-campus, we will be required to terminate your legal status. And unauthorized employment is the one termination that cannot be applied for reinstatement. So please, do not work off campus. If you think it's okay because you see other people doing it, it's possible they have special authorization from the government for economic hardship, temporary protected status. There are many reasons that people can apply for work authorization to work off campus. So you don't know if they have that work authorization. If they don't, it's possible they just haven't been caught yet. Or maybe we have caught them and have terminated their status and they're here out of status. That is their issue, and it does not make their employment permissible. So please follow the rule, because it is extremely serious. If you get caught working illegally, we must terminate your status and you will not be able to apply for reinstatement. Exceptions are very limited. So if you have something that changes in your economic situation, it's possible that you could apply for work authorization with the government, but you have to prove and show a lot of documentation that shows what has changed from the time that you gave us your financial affidavit at admission and the time that you are trying to work now. Other differences or exceptions are optional practical training or curricular practical training. If your program requires some sort of outside work experience, please come talk to us or look on our website for information about ways to work while finishing your program. These exceptions are extremely limited and they require documentation. So read through the information carefully. J1 students have something called academic training that also has specific rules. So if you are interested in doing that, please come talk to a school official in our office. We understand that sometimes money is an issue and you want to be able to work, but you must follow the rules and only work part-time on campus, 20 hours a week during the semester. There is the possibility of working more hours during the summer or week-long breaks. But in general, 20 hours a week on campus is the limit. We understand this might be an issue for some people, but on your documents, we had to list your funding. And this came from the funding that you said you had when you applied. So according to the government rules, you are here to be a student. And so your purpose, your primary purpose is to be a student. And they don't want you to have to work more than part-time on campus and have it interfere with your ability to complete your studies. What happens if you don't follow the rules of your I-20? Your status will be terminated, and all benefits will be suspended of your F1 or J1 student status, including employment. So if you are terminated, if your status is terminated, you will not be eligible to work on campus, receive scholarships, maintain student health insurance. There are many, many things that are impacted by a termination of your status. If you are terminated, you will have to go home or apply for reinstatement, which costs $370. It requires significant documentation. It can only be done within 5 months of the termination, and it takes 2 to 6 months or much, much longer. I have never seen it take 2 to 6 months. It typically is taking more than a year to get an approval. And if it's denied, then you would be required to leave immediately as well. The other option, if you find yourself terminated, is to reapply for F1 status through travel and reentry, or J1 status. This requires new documents. You must leave the country, pay the SEVIS fee, obtain a new visa if necessary, and then re-enter with the new document. This is risky because when you go through customs, what if they look and say, well, why are you coming back in on this initial record? We see that you have been here before. It is risky. It is not guaranteed. They could deny entry. So the best option is just to maintain those 3 simple rules. If you have a dependent would be on an F visa or F2s, would be a spouse or child. That legal status is linked to the F1 status. So the F2 expiration date is the same as the F1. Travel signature is required for each F2 on each I-20. Children may go to primary and secondary school, but they cannot be enrolled full-time at the university. If you have a spouse that wants to be enrolled at the university, it's possible, but they cannot be full-time. They can only go to classes part-time. And they cannot be employed. No work on or off campus. If the F1 status is terminated, the F2s is automatically terminated as well. Here's a few things to remember. Don't break the law. Criminal activity can impact your ability to enter the U.S. or remain in the U.S. Like I said before in the first part, if you have a DUI, drinking under the influence, your visa will be immediately canceled. So you will have to apply for a new visa. Even an arrest without a conviction can cause problems. And if arrested, you need to make sure you talk to a criminal defense lawyer for the criminal charge, and also with an immigration attorney or with a criminal defense lawyer that is familiar with immigration law. Because even if you clear up the criminal offense, you may still have immigration-related issues. So please pay attention to both the criminal side and the immigration side of the issue. Keep your address updated in the portal. If you live on campus, that's automatic. If you live off campus, you will have to update that, and you're required by law to do that within 10 days of the change. Maintain your valid documents, your I-20 or DS-2019. Don't let them expire. It's very easy for us to extend those documents if you do it before the end date. After the end date, it is impossible. We are not able to extend those. You do have to apply to the U.S. government for that. And the passport, remember the 6-month rule. Make sure your passport is valid at least 6 months into the future because it takes some time to get it renewed and you don't want it to expire. And we always recommend that you make copies of your immigration and identification documents and keep them in a safe place. Maybe scan them and email them to yourself or save them to the cloud, because those documents won't work for travel if you lose your documents, but it will help to have a copy if you have to get it replaced. So if you lose your passport, if you have a copy of it, it will help you when you go to your consulate or embassy. It will help to show who you are, the document number, and so on. It will help you when you try to get them replaced. Keep all your I-20s or DS-2019s that you ever have forever. Use the most recent current document, but keep the others in a safe place because you may need to produce them later. Be aware of all deadlines and submit your paperwork at least 2 weeks ahead of time, maybe even more, to allow us time to do what we need to do to process your requests. Travel signatures. Your I-20 or DS-2019 must be signed before you travel outside the U.S. Please don't wait till the last day. We have had instances where the university has closed early for a break or because of weather, or maybe we're all out in meetings. And if you wait till the last minute and we close early, you won't have a travel signature. So please plan ahead. And as always, for questions related to your SEVIS status, your legal status, you can email dso@cmo.edu. Or for that or any question, email international@cmo.edu. And that email will be sent to the right person to respond to your request.